Nnamdi Kanu tell the Yorubas that Tinubu is going to sell the Yoruba land to the Fulanis. And today is happening. Yoruba have successfully buy more than 10 Yoruba's kings. Recently, they buy one of their king. And this is happening in 2026. The man who saw what will happen in Yoruba land and tell them, the Yoruba gathered and imprisoned him. Which is Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the Hamadika one of Biafra land of Ndigbo. My people, I go bring videos, come show you. I don't know who created this video, but anybody that created this video deserve an award. And if the person see this my post and make it public, at the fact he win 20,000 just from my heart. If it is one bottle, anything you can reach you, no problem. So I'm going to play this video. This creator of this video asked a simple question to the Yorubas, and none of them can be able to answer this question. None of their reasoning or their thought is justified to hate the Ndigbo. But I'm going to play the video for you to watch. Stay tuned as we see the end of this video, and make sure you share and follow this page for more updates.
The Sultan of Sokoto wants to bring Sharia courts to Yoruba land, and the Yoruba response has been one word: no. Not a polite no, not a diplomatic no, a warning, a direct, public, unambiguous warning from Yoruba Nation youths at home and in the diaspora, from Pan-Yoruba coalitions representing 130 groups, from the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, and from governors who have already shut Sharia courts down before they opened. This is not a religious debate. This is a territorial battle over who controls the soul of the Southwest, and it is heating up fast. Here's what triggered this confrontation. On January 29, 2025, the Deputy National Legal Advisor of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Imam Harun Mohammed Eze, released a statement calling for independent Sharia arbitration panels in Ekiti, Oyo, and other southwest states. He cited Section 275 of the 1999 Constitution as legal justification. A Sharia court was actually launched in Ekiti State. The Ekiti government immediately rejected it. Ogun followed. Oyo Governor Seyi Makinde rejected it outright, but the Sultan Mohammed Saad Abubakar III doubled down. The Yoruba response was immediate, and it was not gentle. Subscribe now, because this confrontation is about far more than religion. To understand why the Yoruba reaction is this fierce, you need the history. Islam has existed in Yoruba land since the 1300s, over 700 years, long before the Sokoto Caliphate was established by Usman Dan Fodio in 1804. Yoruba Muslims built their own mosques, their own scholarship, their own Islamic tradition, independent of northern influence. The Alliance for Yoruba Democratic Movement made this point explicitly. Islam came to Yoruba land in the 1300s, some 500 years before the Sultanate. It is completely wrong to have the Sultan as the head of Nigerian Muslims. That was an imposition by the Nigerian military. And the Yoruba Nation youths used language that removes all ambiguity. We caution you on your latest antics to renew your grand 1804 design to conquer the entire Yoruba land. 1804, Usman Dan Fodio. The Sokoto Caliphate. The Yoruba are connecting this to a 220-year pattern, and they are saying it stops here. Now, here is the part that changes everything, because this is not just Yoruba Christians rejecting Sharia. Yoruba Muslims are rejecting it too. Let me walk through exactly who is saying what, because the coalition against the Sultan is broader than most people realize. The Yoruba Nation youths, signed by Prophet Ayodele Ologunloluwa and Comrade Oyegunle Omotoyole, stated, any attempt to establish Sharia courts in the southwest would be seen as a call for civil war. Civil war, that word was used deliberately. The Alliance for Yoruba Democratic Movements, representing 130 groups, signed by Popola Ajayi and Chief Kunle Oshodi, stated, the NSCIA is a dubious cover to realize the real agenda of ethnic subjugation in Nigeria. The Society for Yoruba Culture Renaissance said plainly, keep Sharia law in Sokoto, where it has worsened suffering. The Pentecostal Fellowship on Nigeria, through Vice President Cosmos Ilechukwu, stated Sharia panels will create chaos in the southwest. And critically, Gani Adams, the Are Ona Kakanfo of Yoruba land, the highest traditional military title in Yoruba culture, declared Sharia is alien to Yoruba culture and religious belief. Now, here's what makes this more complicated. Because the Muslim Ummah of southwest Nigeria, Muswen, backed the Sultan on Ramadan moon sighting. Their president, Alhaji Razaki Oladejo, signed a statement of support. So, Yoruba Muslims are not uniformly against the Sultan. They respect his spiritual authority, but they are drawing a sharp line. Spiritual leadership is one thing, legal jurisdiction over Yoruba territory is another. That distinction is crucial, and the Sultan doesn't seem to recognize it. Let me put the Sultan's argument on the table fairly. The NSCIA position is that Section 275 of the Constitution provides for Sharia courts of appeal. Muslims in the southwest have a constitutional right to Sharia arbitration in personal matters, marriage, inheritance, divorce. That is not an unreasonable legal argument on its surface. But here's the political problem. Sokoto State has 67.8% of children out of school. A 2023 survey showed 776,000 children out of school across 23 local governments. Extreme poverty affects 80% of the population. Banditry and violent crime are at historic highs. The Yoruba groups are asking one question. If Sharia has governed 12 northern states for over 20 years, why has it produced no peace, no education, no prosperity? Why should Yoruba land import a system that has failed its own people? That question has not been answered. 3 contradictions must be named. First, the Sultan claims authority over all Nigerian Muslims, but Muswen backed him only for Ramadan dates, not for Sharia courts. If he truly speaks for Yoruba Muslims, why are Yoruba Muslims themselves divided? Second, the NSCIA cited Section 275 to justify Sharia panels, but the same constitution guarantees freedom of religion and cultural rights. Both sides quote the same document. Someone is reading it selectively. Third, northern clerics have declared the Sultan superior in authority to both the Nigerian government and the Oni of Ife. If that claim circulates openly, this is no longer about arbitration panels. This is about who holds ultimate authority in Yoruba land. And that question has an answer the Yoruba gave 220 years ago. So here's what this confrontation is really about. It is not about whether Yoruba Muslims can practice their faith. They have done so freely for 700 years, long before Sokoto existed. Yoruba Islam has its own traditions, its own scholarship, its own mosques, and requires no validation from the Sultan. This is about whether the Sultan of Sokoto, whose authority was granted by the Nigerian military, not by Yoruba consent, has the right to expand his legal jurisdiction into the southwest. The answer from youth groups, coalitions, traditional title holders, Yoruba Muslims, and Christian bodies is the same: no. The Ekiti court was shut down, Ogun and Oyo rejected it, the governors are holding firm, and the language has escalated from "we reject" to "this will lead to civil war." The Sultan is not being asked to leave Nigeria. He is not being told Yoruba people disrespect Islam. He is being told one thing clearly: the Sultanate ends at its own borders. Yoruba land is not Sokoto. Subscribe if this story deserves more attention than it is getting. Share it so more Nigerians understand what is being contested. And in the comments, tell me, does the Sultan have the right to push for Sharia courts in Yoruba land? Is Muswen's support for the Sultan a sign of division among Yoruba Muslims? And is this a preview of a larger Nigeria crisis? This is a national conversation. Your voice matters. Stay informed, stay alert. The Southwest has drawn its line.
Propaganda, or let us just fight, let us just hope for this. No, I deal with the reality. So I can't see black, you are calling it white because you want the black to become white. No, call it black. If you want to repent it, so that you know that you are repenting it. Not that when you see black, you call it white because you want the black to be white. So let's get back to what I was saying. I will tell you the Yoruba kings that have been killed in recent times, the implication, and what it means for Yoruba nation. Because I studied the history, how the Hausa kings were eliminated. They were just eliminated. They were conquered by these Fulani people. And you see in Kano, Zaria, all these places, you have emirs instead of Hausa in a system of rulership. These were Hausa lands, but the Fulanis conquered it, okay? This is not a video to talk against a tribe. No, I'm just trying to say the reality, to say the truth, so that people will learn, so that they will not be surprised because of what is going on. Now, just dating back to history, before we come to talk about the detailed issue of the killing of the Yoruba kings, okay? The Fulani rise to power was achieved through 1904 Holy War. That is what they call jihad, okay? It was led by Islamic scholar Heřdsmán Danfodio, as you know. Danfodio was a member of the Toronkawa Fulani clan, initially served as a teacher in the Hausa state of Gobir. After escalating tension and a failed assassination attempted by the Hausa ruler, Sake Gobir Yonfa, Danfodio fled to Gudu and was declared Emir Al-Mu'minin, commander of the faithful. That is what it means, the commander of the faithful. And they now use their motto that victory belongs to Allah. And that is the motto up to today that the Nigerian military is using. It started from that time, that the victory belongs to Allah. And they named him commander of the faithful. Which kind of faithful are they talking about? Which faith is it? The faith that Sharia must rule in Nigeria. The faith that Sharia must take over Nigeria. So these are the history that you can go and read. Okay. Now let's talk about the consolidation. By 1808, they had captured Gobir, killing King Yonfa. King Yonfa is an Hausa king. So they captured the place, they killed him. The reason why I'm trying to get back, or bring forth the history for you is because I want you to understand that the killing of Yoruba kings is not a mistake. The killing of Yoruba kings is not something that is coincident or by just destiny. No, this is a calculated plan killing. And I can tell you that from now to next 10 years, you will be seeing people who will be calling themselves Yoruba Fulani, Yoruba Fulani, Yoruba Fulani, just like what they told Hausa people, oh, we are the same, Hausa Fulani, Hausa Fulani. Now, they don't say Hausa Fulani again, they said, we are the Fulanis, okay? It is going to start very soon, Yoruba Fulani, Yoruba Fulani. I'm just telling you because these are the steps of capturing kingdoms, cities. And I can tell you that many places, even in Kwara State, Yoruba place, you see Emir. What is Emir doing in Yoruba land? Anyway, now let's talk about the expansion. After the 1808, in 1815, they had conquered most of Hausa land, including major kingdoms like Kano, Katsina, and Zaria. All these Emir you are seeing, they were never there before. So the kingdoms were conquered and they took place. Now, the victory led to the founding of the Sokoto Caliphate. I hope you are hearing what I'm saying. This Sokoto Caliphate you are seeing.
Dear Yorubas, I am here to challenge you. Can anyone among you sincerely tell me how the Igbos has offended you? Any point you raise and prove it, you will be rewarded with a sum of 100 million naira. I mean genuine points. I learned that the Igbos are bad people. They are evil. They should not be trusted. My parents told me years ago. That's my point, you see? Your judgment is based on what you were told, not from experience. Has any Igbo man offended you before? I need an honest evaluation. What have the Igbos done to you to warrant hatred? Someone should talk to me. We are here to discuss unity.
The Igbos are land grabbers. They have almost half of Lagos and other cities in this country. What about that?
Do they steal the land? Do they pay the owners? Don't they buy those lands? Is it an offense to buy property with your money? Let me remind you that the investment of Igbos were seized in the name of abandoned properties. You should be the guilty one here, not trying to blame someone who bought items with his money, or you stop selling to them. Unfortunately, you pretend not to see the main land grabbers who pay people and collect their lands. Don't you see them? It's a shame that you fight someone who buys from you, but romance someone pay you and collect by force. That's hypocrisy. Any other point why your hatred on Igbos are justified? Nobody has given a tangible reason so far. My own is simple. Igbos are too proud. They are always bragging about everything. I hate that lifestyle. My dear, don't be intimidated by the Igbos lifestyle. Yes, we are proud for a reason. Imagine being successful with 20 pounds. Right. We were given 20 pounds to start life, and today we have turned the 20 pounds to billions of naira. Won't you brag about it? Again, what you call pride is not arrogance. It is our nature. Igbos adopted the leopard as our symbol for a reason. I will explain. Leopard is known for independence. Like the leopard, the Igbo spirit thrives on self-reliance and personal achievement. Leopard is intelligent. The leopard wins through strategy, just as the Igbo value wisdom over noise. What about authority? The leopard symbolizes dignity and leadership, much like Igbo traditional prestige. You must also mention adaptability. Wherever it goes, the leopard survives, just as Igbo people excel wherever they settle. Think about quiet strength. The leopard moves silently but acts decisively, reflecting Igbo strength through results. We must mention courage. The leopard does not fear confrontation, mirroring the Igbo history of resilience and defense. Most importantly is identity. The leopard's unique marks reflect the Igbo pride in culture, heritage, and identity. You can see that what you misjudge as pride and arrogance is just our nature. In is in our vein. No apology to anyone. Shall we proceed with my question? Tell me what Igbos have done wrong to you that make you to hate them so much. The Igbos said that Lagos is no man's land. Is that not insulting to our Yoruba authority? There you got it wrong. If you are familiar with history, you should know that the phrase was first used by former governor of Lagos. It was Governor Jakonde who stated that Lagos is no man's land. It didn't come from the Igbos. Check your history well. Some Igbos said that on social media. Doesn't mean that Igbos said that Lagos is no man's land. You are looking for excuses. The last speaker is from Ekiti. So are you claiming Lagos? Lagos is southwest. Doesn't mean Ekiti man should claim it either. Why not allow the owners of Lagos to lead the fight if they are not happy that someone said that Lagos is no man's land? Why is Oyo man shouting up and down as if Lagos is his state? You claim what is not yours but want to call someone land grabber for buying land. That's hypocrisy at its peak. But let me have more points. Why do you hate Igbos so much that most of you are now obsessed with Igbos?
During elections, Igbos don't support our candidates. They will always vote for candidates we didn't support. They are rebels.
I am glad you raised the point. Let me use the opportunity to educate you on democracy. People make their own choices. You don't impose candidates on people. On the part of Igbos, an Igbo doesn't support substandard leaders or unaccountable leaders. They go against any leader who is not standard enough. The Igbos are Republican in nature. They always go for the best, even at village level. Any other point to justify your hatred on Igbos? No point raised so far has been meaningful enough. I need points that make sense. Igbos destroy Lagos properties during NSAS protests. Is that reason not good enough to justify our hatred on them? Honestly, you are being unfair to Igbos. How was that Igbos protest? Remember, the protest started at Warri before circulating to other parts of the country. Warri is not Igbo land. Then in Lagos, it was peaceful until there was shooting at Lekki toll gate. Most conveners of the protests were Yorubas. So, how did you turn to blame Igbos on the protest against SARS brutality, which affected everyone in the country? This is one of your propaganda against Igbos. That was how some of you linked the Kpâi issue to IPOB. Your media used propaganda to tag 1966 coup and Igbo coup, even when the participants of that coup have come out openly to debunk it. You insist that Nzogu was an Igbo man that plotted coup. Yet you turn to say that Nzogu's village in Delta is not Igbo. You said that Aguiyi is the cause of Nigerian problem. How? Aguiyi introduced unitary system, but Gowon changed federalism. We've had other military regimes and democracy since then. Yet you still blame a man that left the world 60 years ago. What a shame. You keep talking about the coup that happened 60 years ago, but you are afraid to talk about the one that almost happened this year. Cowards! Your propaganda against Ojukwu is that Ojukwu caused civil war. You don't even mention that Gowon failed to implement Aburi agreement. In Aburi, Ojukwu and Gowon agreed on restructuring where every region would control its resources. But your father refused. You know that this was what caused the war, but you have refused to talk about it the way it is. You shy away from the truth. And now you are asking for the same restructuring which your father rejected 60 years ago. Is that not hypocrisy? Think about the Igbos must go protest you have always agitated for. We claim one Nigeria, yet you harbor such thoughts in your heart. Well, for sure, Igbos will leave Lagos one day. But remember the street of Lagos during Christmas period. You think you can survive without Igbos? How many Igbo man shops have you demolished? How many of their buildings have you destroyed? What about shops that got burnt? Remember, they bought those properties with their money. They invested heavily on those places, yet you keep destroying them. Your mother said it in 2019 that you would convert the investments of Igbos to your properties. And it is happening now. Your father threatened with Lagoon how he would push them into it. It happened during 2023 election. We claim to be in one Nigeria. What about the infamous Asaba massacre which your uncle spearheaded? Your uncle Kpâi thousands of unarmed innocent civilians. All of you are happy to hear that your daddy initiated the policy that cut food supply which led to the pain of millions of Biafrans. It is a shame that while Nigerians are calling for electoral reform to ensure free and fair election, some of you are supporting the usual rigging system. Even when Nigerians protested against bad governance, you refused to participate as if you are not facing the same hardship. As others were protesting against hardship, you initiated your own protest on Igbo must go as if your problem is Igbo. Even when President Trump and Americans have enough evidence on Christian persecution in Nigeria, you still find a way to blame Igbos. Even in the church, you still show your hatred on Igbos. A priest stopped church service in Yoruba land because Igbo son was raised. A Nigerian player missed the penalty and you blame the entire Igbo, forgetting that a Yoruba player missed the penalty for World Cup qualification. I can tell you 2,000 ways Yorubas have offended Igbos, but you can't point out a single way Igbo man has offended you. It has gotten worse to the extent that you now transfer the hatred to any Yoruba person who doesn't hate Igbos. What a shame. Imagine your propaganda that an Igbo man Kpâi and Hausa man, even the person who Kpâi the Hausa man is from Benue. Remember, your attack and propaganda make us stronger. You leave your business to face Igbos. We have not offended you. No matter how hard you try, you can't point out a single way we have offended you. All the things you mentioned have no basis. The only offense of an Igbo man is that he came to your land to progress, and that brings jealousy, envy, and acrimony. Let me say this finally. Messi is marked, Ronaldo is tackled, but nobody cares about useless players. The same is applied to the Igbos. People that carry great destiny attract attention just as the Igbos do. Ponder over this. Remember, as leopard, Igbos cannot be intimidated. I am off.
My people, it's a very simple question. What did Igbos did to you? And everything Yorubas are saying here is just hatred, propaganda, jealousness, and all that. Because of their hatred on Igbo, they embrace the Kpâi at all costs because they have no choice. So when you see something happen in Yoruba land, I feel for the innocent ones, not those ones who speak out, who promote the hatred. I feel for the people, the common men that have not, the children, the innocent ones. I feel for them. But those people could have raised their voice to stop the hatred and to stop embracing what is buying them and stand for the truth. But they never do it. And today they are paying for what they don't know. So Yorubas should change from this the art of pushing hatred against the Igbos. Because what you sow is what you reap. Guys, share this video. Drop your own opinion in comment section.